I got the post-lunch slump space, so y'all got to keep that energy up, okay? Feeling good? All right, so as Jared mentioned, my name is Jordan Sibley. I'm the brokerage CEO for Keller Williams here in Mandeville and also in Hammond. And I was a producing realtor alongside my husband for 7 years before I felt called to give back to the industry in a different way. So about 5-ish years ago, I became obsessed with the topic of the language of agreement. I venture to guess many of you grew up in a household like I did, where your parents said, go clean your room, do this because I said so. Very directive, assertive instructions as a kid. Who else grew up like that? Now, not to say there's anything wrong with that, but as we grow up, those same tactics don't work. And as realtors, a lot of us keep those skills from childhood and get focused on telling our clients what to do instead of getting them to self-discover it on their own. So again, about 5 years ago, I became obsessed with that topic. I got certified as a John Maxwell team speaker, coach, and trainer. Then I moved into brokerage leadership, and I also travel the country teaching with my brokerage on topics like this. So today's masterclass on the language of agreement is how to get your buyers and sellers to say yes to reality. How many of you are frustrated when a buyer wants to make some ridiculous offer that's completely unfounded? Raise your hands. Woo! Thank you, Mary Jo, for the woo. How many of you are frustrated when you go through your entire listing consultation? The comps say everything perfectly, but they want to overlist. How many of you have difficulty with that? Okay. Thank you to whoever else gave me the woo. You get an extra cookie up there. So the problem is this, my friends. It is not that we don't know what we're talking about. We do. You're all knowledgeable, caring, servant-hearted professionals. But nobody told you how to stop talking at people and start getting them to think for themselves. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is to how to use the beautiful skills you already have as local market experts, but get people to see it from their own perspective so it becomes their idea. So have any of you guys ever, I keep thinking there's a screen over here, have any of you wondered why some people achieve dramatically different results than you when it seems like you've got the exact same ingredients? You're like, why is that guy crushing it? I've been in the industry just as long as he has. Or why does that girl always seem to get the listing and I don't? Anybody ever felt that way? Okay, comparison's just a normal human thing that we do. It's because successful people know exactly what to say, how to say it, and how to make it count. That is the singular difference for most successful realtors that seem to just glide through the industry with ease. They took those childhood habits of just, I'm gonna do it because you said so, and they learned that they have a choice and they can self-discover the answer. So I'll back up a second. I have 3 little girls at home. And don't get me wrong, there's a whole lot of go clean your room. But I'm gonna encourage you that have, those of you that have young children like me, or even teenagers or young adults, it's, Emma, I need you to clean your room. Would you like to do it before you have dinner or after? Or, I know you want to go to your friend's house. Going to your friend's house is important to you, correct? Wouldn't it be a great idea if you cleaned your room first so we can get there quicker? Now, I'm not up here giving anybody parenting advice, but I'm trying to tell you the language of agreement shows up everywhere in our lives. And you will have much easier conversations when you learn to stop telling and start asking. So the law of agreement says this, and I want you to write this down. Well, it's already on your slide packet, but I want you to underline it. I want you to star it, take a picture of it, print it out poster-sized. People will never say no to their own ideas, but they will say no to yours. I'll say it again. People will never say no to their own ideas, but they will say no to yours. That price you wanted me to list at, well, that's just because you want to sell it fast and make a commission. even though all the data says that it's the correct price, but it's your idea. How do we get sellers to self-discover that it is the right price and get them on board with this working relationship we're about to embark upon? Or buyers, you show them all the evidence in the world. Hey, this would be a strong offer price that the market would support. Oh, well, let's just offer $50,000 below ask and see if it sticks. Yeah, I know. Ugh, can't stand it. That's because the way we're delivering information is we told it to them. It was our idea, not theirs. Now, what we're going to cover in the next 25 minutes is we are barely scratching the surface of the language of agreement. But if you want to start learning a little bit more about it in a palatable format, write this down. I want you to buy the book called Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones, not the singer, different Phil Jones. Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones. It's a phenomenal little pocket-sized book that even if everyone in this room could just memorize the magic phrases from that book, you would have dramatically different results in your business. And then if you want to really nerd out like I've been doing the past 5 years, I can make a lot of other recommendations. So let's get into it. It's very important first for you to understand that whether you're working with a buyer or seller, we are continuously working on building and keeping trust before, during, and after the transaction. And it's a circle. It is not linear. It never goes away. We are auditioning for the job of helping somebody buy or sell the largest financial asset that most humans will ever own. There has to be trust there, and the words that you say will either make or break that trust. So at the top of the circle, we have empathy. People need to know by the words you say that you understand them, you care about them, and what you're saying is authentic. Competency. They need to feel like you actually know what you're talking about. And I bet almost everybody in this room knows exactly what they're talking about. So the knowledge isn't a problem. They need to know you have the skills and the experience to help them. Now you'll see I have typed in between empathy and competency, buyer consultation and listing consultation. If there were a point in the circle of trust where these two things come into play, it's between empathy and competency. Because you're caring enough about them to either invite them into your office or go sit on their living room couch to talk to them about their desires. You need to have an understanding for why they want to do what they want to do, and you need to be competent enough to figure out if you can help them do it. Next comes transparency. Are you honest? Are you clear? Are you open? Do you communicate? What is the biggest complaint the public has about us and we have about each other? Answer your flippin' phone. And if you're not doing that, we're breaking that circle of trust under the transparency piece. Sorry, I had to throw that one out there. Biggest pet peeve. And then as we round it out, dependability. Do you keep the promises that you make? Do you meet the expectations that you say you're going to meet? And of course, do we maintain confidentiality? Andrew, were you stretching or you have something to add?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the agents that everybody knows screen calls at the beginning of their calls?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So my opinion doesn't mean beans, but I'll share it with you because you asked.
How do you feel, not your opinion?
Yeah. How do I feel about it? I don't see a problem with it because we all are so sick of robocalls all the time. But are you actually going to answer it on the other end is the thing. I think the real point is are you going to answer the phone, whether it's being screened or not? So I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. All right, so we're going to talk first about the buyer consultation. Now, as a real estate coach of top producers, when you have an issue with a buyer, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to back it up to something that did or didn't happen in the consultation. 9 times out of 10, you didn't even have a dang buyer consultation. So remember, in this circle of trust, I need to have empathy for my potential client situation and show competency. if you're talking to them on the phone and then immediately meeting them at a house and shoving a buyer rep agreement in front of their face, tell me how you have displayed empathy or competency. One, it's a safety thing, and two, you're probably not going to get very far with having them sign that buyer rep agreement because we haven't had the opportunity to show them first how much we care and then how much we know. So I'm going to urge you, invite buyers into your office, not Starbucks, to your office to get to know them. You're welcome, Steve. He paid me to say that. No, I'm just kidding. Invite them into the office. In the 7 years that I was an exclusive buyer's agent on mine and my husband's team, I had a 99.7 conversion ratio for people who sat in my office to meet with me and who signed an exclusive rep agreement. I'm not saying that to boast. It's actually really simple. Follow the systems and models of people who have been successful for a very long time before you. And when you're in that buyer consultation and you use some of the skills that I'm going to talk to you about now very briefly, it's going to help you maintain that circle of trust and set professional boundaries. So, in my consultations, I go through a little slide deck. I don't care if you do that or not, but you need to have something for the client to see that explains what the market is. Because remember, your interpretation of the market is your idea. Whose idea do we want to make it? Theirs. The other cool thing about whatever slide or graphic you choose to present is math doesn't lie. Math is a universal truth, and when everyone can look at numbers together, we can build trust. So the most important part of a buyer consultation and a listing consultation is the questions that you ask. Before I jump onto this slide, does anybody know the difference between a presentation and a consultation? What you got, Steve?
Well, in my mind, the presentation is a drag and brag. It's a one-way conversation.
Yes.
A consultation, in my mind, should be more collaborative.
You hit the nail on the head. I am presenting to you guys right now because I'm teaching. Yes, we teach in a consultation, and the biggest part is what the client has to say back. And if you're too busy talking at someone, even if you're not boasting and bragging about your stats, if you're simply trying to educate them, but all you do is talk at them, everything you said is your idea. So when I get into this part of the slide deck, or any slide in my presentation, I first start with a question. And it sounds a little something like this. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, tell me what you know about the real estate market in Mandeville. Find out what they know. Maybe they're a first-time home buyer and they're like, Jordan, I have absolutely no clue. That's why I'm here. I want you to educate me. Beautiful. But what if they're really savvy and they buy houses quite often? This is a good time to ask that question and find out what they know. So whatever the answer is that they tell you, you say, great. Let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of the term buyer's market or seller's market before? Yeah, I've heard of it. Tell me what you know, Mrs. Buyer. Get her answer. So I'm getting them engaged in this discussion about the market. After they answer, I'm going to say, I'm really impressed with what you know. I want to share with you 3 things on this slide that are going to dictate the type of offer you're likely going to make. First and foremost, in our industry, we consider a balanced market to be between 5 and 7 months of inventory available. So I put this little blue bar across the top to demonstrate a balanced market. Now here in Mandeville in the 70471 zip code, you'll see that that red line is mostly below the blue shaded area. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what does that tell you? Do you think we have a lot of inventory available or a little bit? Now I encourage you, if you already know the neighborhood or area they're looking in, pull very hyper-local metrics. I just pulled for a whole zip code, okay? And they may say, wow, Jordan, I guess there's not a whole lot of inventory. You're right, Mr. Buyer. We're actually sitting at the end of April at about 3.5 months worth of inventory. So here's what that means to you. We have some negotiating room, but sellers still have the upper hand. Does that make sense? The next thing I want to show you is the average days on market. As you can see, as of April, we were sitting around 38 days on market. That's relatively low days on market. So what do you think that tells us, Mrs. Buyer? Do y'all see how many questions I'm asking? I'm not just like, we're 4 months of inventory, 38 days on market, so we need to be aggressive with our offers. All of those things are true, but you have to engage them to understand that first. Then next I'll go into last metric I want you to see is called the list price to sale price ratio. I want you to think of the sticker price on a car. When you go to a dealership, do you want to pay the sticker price? Say no. That was so weak, oh my God. When you go to the dealership and you see the sticker price on the car, do you want to pay it? No. Mildly better. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, that's what this means. The average buyer in this zip code is purchasing a home for 97.5% of the sticker price. So what that means to you is when we find a great house that was just listed in the area that you're looking for, what type of offer do you think we need to be making? An aggressive one. So that whole slide is stuff you guys already know. How many of you are actually including all of those questions in it? Is this making sense how much further along you can get in a conversation? Okay. I'm seeing lots of wide eyeballs, so I'm either crushing it or y'all are bored. One or the other. We're going to go with crushing it. Yes. So that's just one slide in my slide deck for a buyer consultation. Imagine going through 15 slides, how that's going to train how they think about their working relationship with you. And guess what? When it comes time to make an offer, if they forgot everything you talked about, you bring them back to this. Do you remember when we talked about the market, on what type of offer we both agreed we would make to make sure you're not disappointed? You can always draw them back to this. Guys, this is the most important part of a buyer consultation, is this right here. And if you're skipping it, you are shooting yourself in the foot. I want you to write this down. Every question I ask is one less house I have to show. Like for real, write it down. Because I hate seeing you guys miserable. I hate hearing people say, I don't like working with buyers. Buyers are liars. They see too many houses. No, you just need a stronger buyer consultation and the ability to say no sometimes. Every question I ask is one less house I have to show. So I think many of you in this room are doing a good job saying, tell me what you want in your next home. That's great. Now I'm going to teach you to go 3 layers deep. Here's the conversation. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're going to play a game right now, and I'm going to ask you each separately for your must-haves in your next home, and then your wants. You must answer separately. It's like the newlywed game. You can't talk while he's talking. He can't talk while you're talking. And you only get to tell me 3 in each category. 3 must-haves and 3 wants. Then you give them a sheet of paper that looks just like this. Must-haves is across the top, wants is on the other side. Mrs. Buyer will start ladies first. Tell me the first feature your home must have, or you don't even want to drive by it. Typically bedrooms are what people start with. I want 4 bedrooms. This is where most of you are stopping. Write this down. Go 3 layers deep. First layer. Mrs. Buyer, tell me what's important to you about having 4 bedrooms. Well, I have 3 kids and I want them all to have their own bedroom. It's very important. And then, of course, a master bedroom for my husband and I. Wonderful, that makes sense. Mrs. Buyer, tell me what having 4 bedrooms is going to do for you day to day in your life. Oh, well, I'm so sick of hearing my 2 youngest just fight with each other because they have to share a bedroom and it's just getting on my nerves. I can't wait till they all have their own bedroom. Great. So if you had to think for one more reason why you want 4 bedrooms, what would that be? Well, if I had to make the kids bunk up when my mom and dad come to visit, it'd be a lot easier than it is now. Great. So Mrs. Buyer, let me ask you this. If we find the perfect house in the perfect subdivision at the perfect price point, but it only has 3 bedrooms, would you still be willing to purchase it? Yeah. Do I have your permission to move that from the must-haves to the wants? Or she may say, heck no, that's fine. Then we've confirmed that that is indeed a must-have. So you're going to ask her for the other two must-haves. Then you're going to ask Mr. Buyer for his must-haves. Then you go through the wants with Mrs. Buyer and the wants with Mr. Buyer. This process will take you at least 20 minutes. I've had it take an hour and a half. Because every question you ask is, one person was paying attention, thank you, ma'am. One less house you have to show. So what do I do? Now, let's pretend that my buyer said, absolutely not. It has to have 4 bedrooms. You've all been in this scenario before. She sends you a house that has 3 bedrooms. Oh my God, Jordan, we've got to see it. It's just cute as a button. I want to go see it. Mrs. Buyer, I really appreciate you sending me this property. I'm just curious, which one of your kids is now less important than the other and they're not going to have their own bedroom?
That's easy.
Yeah, it's my middle one. She's crazy. No. But do you see, it was her idea that it had to have 4 bedrooms. And I made her dig 3 layers deep on why that was so important to her. So now I'm not the bad guy that says, we're not going to view that 3-bedroom house. I listened, and I'm going to bring her back to what she told me was important. Is this helpful to anybody? Yes. Great. So, oh my gosh, I'm running out of time already. So this is the last slide I would share from the buyer consult. Again, I've got about 15 slides in the whole presentation, but very quickly, I'd be asking a question on each of these. Tell me what you know about the good faith deposit. Tell me what you know about the home inspection, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Because we want to get what predetermined thoughts are in their head about each of these phases. And I'm going to give you a really great example for home inspection. So they may say, oh, well, what I know about a home inspection is we're going to hire an inspector to come out and tell us what's wrong with the house. Great, that's mostly correct. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I want you to think of it this way. Hiring a home inspector is like hiring your physician to do a full blood work on your body and to tell you, yeah, you may have some vitamin levels a little high or low or this or that, but what we're focused on is if your doctor tells you, hey, your cholesterol is so high you might die. The home inspection is for us to find out what are major safety or money concerns we need to be aware of. A home inspection is not going to the plastic surgeon and saying, make me look prettier. I'm kidding. But again, when we get their buy-in on each of these things, then when you cross these parts of the transaction, it's easier because we've already gotten them to discover, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm trying to blow through this. Let's talk about sellers now. I have so many more great tips for buyers. Let's jump to sellers. All right, so if you're not covering this in your listing presentation, put a star next to it. Mr. Seller, do you know what determines market value? Wait for their answer, because when I do have this on a slide on my laptop, I don't even click and show them the answer. Just, Mr. Seller, do you know what determines market value? Whatever they say. Great. Market value is determined by the price a buyer is willing to pay and the price the seller is willing to accept, and that is it. Mr. Seller, buyers don't care how much you paid for this house. They don't care about the improvements you made. Some people will value them, but some people won't. And they don't care about the appraised value. How many of y'all sold houses during COVID? Did the appraisal price matter? Say no. No. If the buyer's willing to pay over and above the appraised value, then the market value is the price they're willing to pay. So, Mr. Seller, can we both agree that although you've made a lot of investments in your home and you may have paid well above market value when you bought it in 2021, that doesn't automatically mean we can inflate our price because of those things? Does that make sense? So, Mr. Seller, the next thing I'd like to talk about are comparable sold properties. If you want the very best indicator of market value, Mr. Seller, it's these similar homes that have sold nearby in the past 1 to 6 months. And we all know it depends on the neighborhood. You may only have to pull comps for 2 months. You may have to go back a year. But let's say 1 to 6 months. Mr. Seller, why do you think that these are the best indicators of market value? Because it was a price a buyer was willing to pay and a seller was willing to accept. The next best indicator are homes nearby that are actually under contract. We don't know what they're going to sell for, so that's why it's a good indicator of market value. And last but not least, these homes that are actively for sale around you, that's our competition. So Mr. Seller, let's start with showing you the homes that have sold nearby in the past 3 months in Woodstone subdivision. And you go over them one at a time. I'm doing this, I pass them across the table. I print out the one-page MLS listing. After you go through each home, Mr. Seller, which of these homes do you feel your home is most comparable to? Typically, they're going to pick a realistic one, but if they don't, that's when you can have the conversation, well, Mr. Seller, this one has 2 additional bedrooms, it has a pool, and it has an exterior shed, but a lot of times when we take this approach, they will self-discover which comp best supports what their house is like. So now we've gotten them to zero in on, all right, my house is most comparable for this one, and this one sold for $475. Great, Mr. Seller, I am in agreement with you. Because who just determined that price, me or him? Him. Then here's where we seal the deal. Mr. Seller, I want you to take a look at something. This is my favorite little cheat sheet. It's called the pricing pyramid. Mr. Seller, if you're anything like me, I want the most buyers possible to see my house for sale so that we have the highest likelihood of getting an offer. Based on this pricing pyramid, Mr. Seller, at what price should we price your house so that 90% of the potential buyers will look at it? Do you see how we're guiding him to the answer? Well, I guess it says we should list it 15% below market value. That's correct, Mr. Seller. I'd be in agreement with you as well. But if you're okay with only 75% of potential buyers looking at your house, we can list it 10% below market value. The choice is yours. $475 is market value. Where do you want to list your home to get the most eyeballs possible to look at it? Well, Jordan, let's go ahead and do it at $450. Great, I agree with you completely. Whose idea was it the whole time to price the house this way? Well, yeah, secretly mine. But who thinks it's their idea? They do. Now, I'm not the bad guy saying, well, if you want the most eyeballs possible, then we need to be listing it here. You are guiding them to self-discover the right answer. Now, I always get this question, well, Jordan, what do you do if they just don't want to budge? You walk away. You have the right to take or not take any listing that you want, my friends. I'm not here to tell you how to do your business. I'm here to tell you how to get closer to agreement by asking these questions and following these models. You're never going to win every buyer. You're never going to win any seller. But I guarantee you, you will get a lot further down the line. You'll get a lot further into the discussion if you follow these models. Because remember, at the end of the day, people will never say no to their own ideas, but they will say no to yours. Thanks.